Hi guys! Welcome back to my channel and another color challenge video. Today's color is red, so we're just one by one making our way through the end of the rainbow. If you're new to my channel and this type of video, I was inspired by the art community to use only one color of art supplies and then twist it to be doll related, so repainting a doll with them. And here's a swatch test so you guys can see the different tones. I have watercolor pencils, acrylic paint, and also a bit of chalk pastel. I didn't have any shimmery mica powder in red, but I did have a few shades of glitter and also some rhinestones in red shades. The only art supply I allow myself in these challenges that isn't the color, in this case red, is some white acrylic paint and a bit of white watercolor pencil. And this is just to make the whites of the eyes and also highlights. I will not be mixing them into the other shades. For the base of this project, I used this Draculaura Monster High doll, which for once wasn't bought secondhand. This was actually purchased new because it was on sale, and it's one of the cheaper models that isn't as movable and posable, but I really just like this face mold. So first we're gonna prep the doll for the repaint, and I do this by popping the head off the body and removing the original hair, in this case because it was black and it didn't really fit. So then I removed the factory paint of the face using some acetone nail polish remover, and then you can prime it with Mr. Super Clear. So my ideas for this doll, since we're working with only red shades and Draculaura is a vampire, I figured it would be very fitting to stay within the vampire theme, and therefore I need a lot of emphasis on the lips, so I want really dark plump red lips and I wanted fangs to be visible. So I used a bit of the white acrylic paint to almost, fake an open mouth smile, and this is just so the lips appear open and a little less full. So I paint on a bit of white and then I also painted on the fangs going onto the lower lip, and I feel it's pretty hard to pull that up looking nice, and I wasn't completely happy with it, but it was the best I could do without having to, attempt to make 3D teeth or something. And I wanted to keep this relatively simple so we can stay within the boundaries of this challenge. So once I had the white painted on there, then I first used watercolor pencils to block in the lips, and later on I went over with acrylic paint just to get it very saturated. But because it was a vampire, I wanted a lot of focus on the lips, so therefore I actually started on the lips where I would usually start on the eyes, but the lips was pretty much the only thing I was actually certain of with this doll. Before I started this challenge, I was a little concerned whether or not it would just be very, very hard to get any type of different hue or saturation, because I felt red is, a hard color to work with alone. But it turns out I was actually pretty lucky, at least with my watercolor pencils, because I had a pretty wide variety of shades. The darker ones being very deep and slightly brownish, and I had some lighter ones that was a bit more to the orange tone, and some that was, just a tiniest hint of purple tone. So I actually had a lot of different tones to work with, which just really helped to make it look a little more interesting. And I also focused on in the eyes, and I did this fading effect, having it being more saturated and dark at the top of the iris and then fading it down, and actually kept a bit of the doll's original pink color at the bottom, so leaving it transparent, so to get so many tones as possible. To keep the eyes interesting, I decided to leave the pupil and iris kind of hazy and only using the watercolor pencils there, because it gives a soft and slightly hazy look if you only do a few layers. And then I did the surroundings as the eyeliner and also the eyelashes in paint, because it is just completely saturated and the darkest color it could possibly be. So that kind of made a difference in tone, but also in definition, just to make the lashes and the liner stand out, and also like this kind of hazy look since she's a vampire, so I thought it was fitting. I only had 2 chalk pastels in red, one being slightly orange tinted and one being slightly pink tinted. so I didn't have that much to work with there. So I used the orange one for shading like by the nose and the center of the face, and I used a more pinkish that was a tad bit darker, you know, in the temples and also by the cheekbones. And I also used this shade as eyeshadow, but I layered one of the darker, more brownish red pencils underneath to darken the corners and make it a little more, you know, we're going for a smoky look, but I need there to be definition in the corners, having it be darker, then I would be able to build up the pastel. Because if I were doing this with, you know, a whole range of colors and I wanted red or pink eyeshadow, I might still use a darker color in the crease just to darken the look. So to get that kind of effect, I started with a darker pencil underneath and then layered the chalk pastel on top. So when you're working with a limited color palette or limited, you know, type of materials, then you just gotta work it the best you can. Along the process, whenever I feel the need to seal in, then I'll give it another spray of Mr. Super Clear. And this is both to set in the progress, if I'm afraid of messing anything up, which I often am. And then if I want to build up more opacity in certain areas and it can't really build up anymore, then you give it another spray and then it gives a little more grip. And I started by painting on the eyelashes with a pencil just to give myself a sketch, because I don't know, using paint always scares me a little to go in without having any sort of guideline, and then I layered the paint on top. Once I was happy with the face, I sealed it in the final time and put it off to dry, and then I decided to give this neck piece that the doll came with a makeover. It came in white, so I painted using my acrylic paints to make it red and fit, and then I moved on to the bodice of the doll. And in one of the previous ones I did a glitter bodice and I really wanted to do the same again, so I used acrylic paint as the base to paint on where I wanted the color, and then I glued on 2 different kinds of glitter to make this almost corsage top, and I also glued a bit of the squared rhinestones kind of to part the 2 glitters. Yeah, it might be a little much both with all the glitter and the rhinestones, but we've already established that I do have a problem with glitter. You know, it's sort of an addiction at this point. And I don't think this character is shy, she's pretty proud of what she is. Once the bodice is all dry, the face was also ready to have hair, and I included some red yarn, acrylic yarn, in the challenge because it is my typical choice for doll hair. So I brushed that out and straightened it with my flat iron to make it into doll hair, and also painted the doll's scalp just as a base, and I glued the hair going the opposite direction than what you would think, because I wanted it to be an updo, so I glued it going straight forward, covering the face in 2 layers. And then once it was all dry, I could flip it back and it looks a little more natural and less flat than if you glue it, you know, the way you actually want it to go. And then I just did it up in a little bun. Once I had the hair up, I felt that the forehead was just a little too much of an open space. Therefore I decided to glue on a few glitter flakes to the center of her forehead, just because why not? And then after that I also added some heart-shaped rhinestones to her ears for earrings. And then the final step, which is pretty much my favorite, is to glaze the eyes, and I also glaze the lips for this one. And it just really brings out the colors and make them look really rich. And here she is all done. Red was actually one of the colors that scares me the most to use like this, because I felt it would be really hard. So everything in consideration, I actually think her face turned out really, really nice. And yeah, we're almost at the end of the rainbow. We've almost done all of the colors soon. So it's been a really fun ride. If you guys have any other requests for other videos you'd like to see, challenges like this with the colors, it's just been really fun to challenge myself this way. So if you have any requests like that, do leave them in the comments below. I'd love to hear. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you enjoyed the video, be sure to hit that like button, and I'll see you guys with a new video real soon. Bye!